Figures due out this week will give a better picture of the impact this summer's wild weather has had on broadacre cropping. Even before Cyclone Yasi hit North Queensland, flooding was estimated to have wiped $500 to $600 million off the value of agricultural production for this financial year. Whatever the final numbers across the country as a whole, individual farmers know only too well how difficult this season's been.
Late November in Victoria's Wimmera. The clouds that brought the critical moisture during the growing season are now unwelcome guests. There were early signs it was going to be a wet finish. No one could imagine just how wet. On the ground, the drone of harvesters is replaced by the babble of frogs. And creeks that normally slow to a trickle around now are running bankers.
I have never seen a season like this before, ever. I've never seen this much water in my area ever before in my lifetime. But I do understand that some 100 years ago, Federation floods and things that occurred in this area, this would be, I guess, reminiscent of that.
We've been reluctant to sow canola.
Mark John's family can trace his Wimmera roots back to the 1880s. His recent farming history is a story of drought.
We've had a run of dry years and we haven't sown canola because we haven't had the moisture. The start of this year we had a good start, and right up till now it's been an excellent year.
The Riley family property Lauraville is on the southern tip of the Victorian Mallee, and this year it comes with water views.
I don't think even my father would have seen a harvest like this. It's quite extraordinary.
The first indicators of just how wet things were in the Victorian wheat belt came when stem rust appeared late last year. Simon Craig's an agronomist from the Birchip cropping group. He was barely in short pants the last time stem rust came this far south.
Conditions have been just conducive for the disease to spread. It's been wet, it's been humid, and there's been quite a thick canopy that the crops...
And hasn't been seen for a long time?
Probably about 30, 40 years. A lot of researchers, a lot of agronomists have not seen it. They're a new generation, and some of the old ones can't actually remember what the cure was, but resistant varieties are certainly the answer.
It's come late enough not to really affect yield and quality. What to do next season can wait. The priority is to get this crop off. November 26th, and Richard Riley's just made a start, only to be halted by rain.
The crops have only just really got ripe, you see, say 7 days ago. So that's when we got our start. We had this forecast rain, so we're busily getting all our seed for next year, just in case the wheel does fall off and it is all sprouted seed. So we'd like to have good quality seed if possible. We've got another 5 or 6 days ahead of us of potential rain, even though it's sunny here at the moment, but more to come tomorrow.
It's a similar story an hour's drive southwest to the Wimmera, where Andrew Wiedemann grows wheat, barley and the usual mix of pulses.
In between the rain events that we had last week, we were able to get in and do some work.
By early December, the rain was already more than just a nuisance. There'd been so much of it, growers couldn't get machines into sodden paddocks.
We've had 4 inches, 100 mils in this last sort of 3 or 4 days. So that's really obviously slowed things down to the stage that it has, and now we're just wondering when we can get back on the paddock and just exactly what is probably left for us to harvest this year.
It's left his barley crop underwater.
We've had a massive amount of rain here in the Wimmera, and I guess what you can see at the moment, if you look out back here behind us, we've got water coming down through the old waterways and coming through and then going through the crops here.
It'll be weeks before he can get into this barley, and in the meantime, more rain's forecast. He can only guess at the damage already done and what state the crop will be in when he finally does get the harvester moving again.
Have you written anything off yet, or is there still a bit of hope there?
We're the eternal optimists in farming, otherwise we probably wouldn't be here. We really don't know the full impact of this until perhaps 2 or 3 weeks' time, and even in some cases, some of this country may not be able to get a header or take large-scale machinery for the next, say, 5 weeks. So we've just got to wait and see.
A little further west, Mark Johns hasn't had quite as much rain, but still more than enough to put his harvest plans on hold.
Windrowed about 20 days ago. We made a start on the harvest about 6 days ago. Probably got half the paddock finished. It's been an excellent crop, going about 3 tonne to the hectare.
His canola's enjoyed the extra moisture during the growing season, and although heavy downpours have held them up, he's pretty confident the canola will be okay.
If you have a look at it, it's quite dry, and if you're very careful with the pods, they're quite fragile at the moment. Drop the seed out.
But still in good nick?
Doesn't appear to be damaged at all. There's no evidence of shooting, and just feeling the crop, it's very dry. So, and the windrow's in good condition still.
He's not quite as optimistic about the paddock of wheat next door. Even though buyers are being a little more flexible on quality, if it doesn't make milling grade, then the price drops $100 a tonne.
I'm surprised at the condition it is in. It's looking better than I thought it would. It's still a bit damp, but it's ripe and it's ready to be harvested.
What sort of window have you got to get this off, and how critical is the weather in the next week or two?
Look, another rain event would make it feed almost certainly.
Another big worry is the lentil crop. At $700 a tonne, lentils offer a good margin, but they can be tricky at the best of times, and the rain's done them no favours at all.
They're quite a fragile crop. Even if it doesn't rain, they continue to get lower on the ground and it's more difficult to harvest.
Another big rain event, what happens to them?
I don't like to think about it.
50 kilometres away, Andrew Wiedemann's making sure the machinery's up to scratch. It'll be days before they can get into the paddock, and they're already weeks behind schedule.
Well, right at this stage, we would have hoped to have certainly finished all the canola. All of the barley would have been harvested, and the lentils, we would have almost been completed harvesting lentils. And wheat wouldn't normally start until the 2nd or 3rd week in December. So right at this point, we've got 400 acres of canola harvested, and we're a long way from getting into it.
Before summer, the big warning was for locusts, and when the sun does come out, they take off. But through December, these sort of days were few and far between. All growers could do was sit and wait as the world rolled by and the paddocks slowly dried. Mark Johns is into his lentils, but it's a stop-start affair. The crop's so close to the ground that the front of the header keeps hitting the dirt and getting clogged. The rains cut the yield by a quarter, and he certainly won't get $700 a tonne. Perhaps 500's nearer the mark.
The quality's a problem. We've got some wrinkles on the seed coat, and at the moment they're apparently talking to the potential buyers. I think that once you take the coat off the seed, they're fine, those split red lentils, but just got to negotiate the slight blemish we've got.
It only takes a few spots of rain to make the whole process grind to a halt.
So, Mark, are those few spots of rain enough to stop?
Yes, it just made it too hard to cut. We're pushing the plants out of the ground and not cutting them.
Andrew Wiedemann's having similar problems with his lentils. Quality and price will be the issue. He doesn't have a buyer yet, and there's a bit of spade work needed even to get them out of the paddock.
Because the silo sunk a bit with the wet weather, just cleaning around the PDO joints. So just trying to make sure that, we can get the grain out without breaking machinery.
The ground's too soft to bring the trucks in, so the bins have to be pulled out. It's all time-consuming work just when time is of the essence.
Since we saw you last about 10 days ago, how much more rain?
We've had nearly another 20 mil since you were here. So we've had now effectively 8 inches since the 26th of November.
They've also bought a second header. It's a big investment, but it should speed things up as long as the rain holds off. And they've devised their own method for extracting a bogged machine.
We've set up an A-frame type pulling arrangement on either side of the front axle because we're concerned about stretching the header by pulling it from the rear when it gets bogged, and we've already been bogged a couple of times.
But what a difference a fortnight can make. A week into the new year and Mark Johns is making good progress. With so much rain over eastern Australia and a poor harvest in the west, prices are holding up. Yields are good too, and at $370 a tonne for this soft wheat, there's money to be made.
This is about $100 a tonne above the ASW price, I think.
That must make a big difference to profitability.
Yes, it does, but the risk with soft wheat is that if your protein comes in too high in a season, it's not useful as soft wheat and can just immediately go into a feed category.
We've been amazed, to be honest. I think people are sort of pinching themselves in this area locally that we've still got some milling quality wheats coming out of the area, considering what we've been through.
The moment of truth for every grain grower comes at the sample stand at the local grain depot. This is where quality is assessed and quality dictates price. A slip from one grade to another can cost big money.
Weight looks good.
76.
The
good yields this season can help compensate for poorer quality, but quality is the icing on the cake.
Yeah, their protein go.
10.9.
Oh, perfect.
And Andrew Wiedemann's cake is looking pretty tasty.
It's a noodle variety that we've grown Rosella, and it's made the noodle grade.
The price per tonne on this?
At the moment, $327 a tonne, delivered here at site.
If you hadn't made that particular grade, what would it drop back to?
Look, if it was feed grade, it's $225 Matoa, so it's $100 a tonne. So that's the significance. So on a load like that, there's 45 tonne on there. It's $4,500 a load difference.
Weeks of work still lie ahead and there'll be plenty more rain before this harvest's over. But the die is cast. What began as the most promising season any of these three growers can recall has ended as something of a mixed bag. It's the 1st of February and Lake Bullocke is brimful.
The main Lake Bullocke was full after the September flood, so the main lake was full, but when we got the January flood, that just spilled over the bar, we call it, and ran into the overflow section of the lake, so now there's 20,000 acres of water out there that will be 5 or 6 feet deep.
There's still a decent-sized pond outside the Riley ancestral seat of Lorreville. For Richard Riley, quality was the issue. None of their wheat made milling quality. Some was general purpose and most the lower priced feed grade.
Will you make money on the wheat crop?
Yeah, look, we will, but certainly it's not the jackpot that we're hoping, well, that was sitting there in front of us, yeah.
Barley? What's the story there?
Barley be a bit more line ball, I'd have to say.